the bulldozing of Muslim homes. It marks a moment in time where you're seeing a transition from a sort of fragile, flawed democracy, transitioning pretty openly, pretty brazenly into a criminal Hindu fascist enterprise. Everyone in authority and every Indian knows that a good part or the most part of the construction in every city and
India is becoming a Hindu fascist enterprise. Now, who is saying this? Al Jazeera, one of the most biased media outlet in modern world. An outlet that is entirely funded by government of Qatar. And when an outlet is entirely funded by a specific entity, the media outlet becomes a puppet of that entity. Not a surprise, we know about NDTV or Network 18. So when people say that NDTV is funded by Adani, absolutely correct. When Network 18 is funded by Ambani ji, again, absolutely correct. But then you should also acknowledge that Al Jazeera, whose facts that you refer to as data, that is also funded by specific vested interests. So do not claim, please do not claim that whatever Al Jazeera speaks, that is unbiased. The same rationality that you may have for NDTV or Network 18, it should apply to elsewhere. In this case, Al Jazeera. So it is not a surprise that Al Jazeera as an outlet speaks of issues that are in the interest of Qatar's foreign policy, not India's foreign policy. Why? Because that outlet is funded by whom? Qatar. It's out in the open. I'm not making this up. Qatar is the same country that has supported Pakistan on Kashmir issue in various diplomatic forums. Qatar is the same country that has strong bilateral relations with Pakistan, Turkey in various domains. So Al Jazeera's coverage on India on issues of Kashmir or communal violence, it is biased. In fact, we looked at one of the charts in one of the previous classes, wherein we looked at India's GDP growth in manufacturing and compared that with Vietnam, Bangladesh, and how casually some aspects of those charts were ignored. Do you know the organization, the entity that shared that chart the most? Al Jazeera. So it is a highly biased news entity. It is a fact. If you cannot digest facts, then it is your problem. But facts cannot change. So Al Jazeera will pick up stories that highlight these conflicts, stories that highlight human rights issues. But it is very, very important for each one of you to distinguish between critical journalism versus biased journalism. Al Jazeera does not do critical journalism. Al Jazeera does biased journalism. If you do not believe me, just run your own regression. Conduct a content analysis of Al Jazeera's reporting on India, then compare this coverage with the other major international and Indian media outlets. And then identify the discrepancies in framing, choice of words, choice of stories, and also sharing of fake videos. You will find instances when fake news was shared and Al Jazeera did not even apologize for sharing those fake videos. And then tell me quantitatively how does that coverage benefits Qatar's foreign policy, and you will get your unbiased answers. A good project for anyone thinking of doing a project in econometrics in the grad school. Ravish Kumar, in my mind, is a critical journalist. He criticizes the government, not India. When Congress was in power, he criticized the Congress government. Today, he criticizes the BJP government. And that is fine. Critical journalism is a vital part of democratic societies. But biased reporting is not. Misinterpreting data, cherry-picking the data, and then backing it up with fake stories that propagate your own foreign policy interests, that is biased journalism, not critical journalism. Anyway, so this biased newspaper outlet in the form of Al Jazeera has mentioned just multiple times that India will become a Hindu Rashtra. This Al Jazeera invited Arundhati Roy. Al Jazeera spoke to Rajiv Sardesai, Barkha Dutt, and their ilks to promulgate this fake narrative across the globe. But the fact of the matter is, this secular character is the basic feature of India's constitution. Article 368 of the Indian constitution can amend any part of the constitution, including fundamental rights, but, and a huge but without affecting the basic structure of the constitution. I agree, Supreme Court is yet to define or clarify this. This makes it more beautiful. That what is this basic structure? But from the various judgments of the Supreme Court, we can safely conclude a few things. And one of those things is that secular character of Indian constitution. It indeed forms the basic structure of the constitution. No matter whether it's special majority, absolute majority, can't change that. Constitutionally, you cannot change that. Separation of powers between the legislature, executive, judiciary is one of those basic features. Principle of equality, independence of judiciary, rule of law, limited powers of the parliament to amend the constitution, powers of Supreme Court under Article 32, 146, 142. All of those things make India a country that is governed by law, not like Pakistan or Qatar, who quote Al Jazeera on anything that happens in India. So coming back to our discussion, Article 368 in Part 20 of the Constitution deals with powers of the Parliament to amend the Constitution and its procedures. It states that Parliament may amend, repeal any provisions of the Constitution in accordance with the procedure laid down for the purpose. However, Parliament cannot amend those provisions which form the basic structure of our Constitution. So no matter what is being said, there are some features that will remain the basic features of India's constitution. And this was ruled by the Supreme Court in the case 1 in Bhartiya case. Pakistan or Qatar, they may fail to realize this when they casually go on to say that India will become a Hindu fascist state. No, that's not the case. Secularism is indeed the fundamental feature of India's constitution. And that is the reason why India is a country where we've had many Parsi judges of the Supreme Court, Muslim presidents, Sikh prime minister, innumerable Christian ministers, even though this country had 81% Hindus. Compare those numbers with Pakistan or Qatar or Saudi Arabia. Why? Because our foundations have been strong. These are the elements of an extremely balanced constitution, not a rigid one, nor a flexible one. And the very fact that no matter what amendment it is, cannot destroy the basic structure of India's constitution. So Parliament under Article 368 can amend any part of the constitution, including the fundamental rights, but they cannot amend the basic structure of the constitution. It is this idea that ensures supremacy of the constitution in India, not the supremacy of Parliament the way we see in the UK. In India, constitution is supreme, not the Parliament. But now the question is, how do you amend the constitution? What is the procedure for it? We all have some basic idea about Article 368. What can it do? What can it not do? But now, how do you amend the constitution?